Hey everybody, Casey Wallace back here at the Portal to Ascension Conference and continuing to bring you great interviews and chit-chats as we get to know some of the most spectacular practitioners around, getting you familiar with what they do, who they are, how they do, and why they do what they do. So sit back and relax and enjoy. Thank you, Carolyn, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please, let's start by telling everybody who you are and what you do.
I am a psychotherapist, I'm an intuitive, and I'm a healer. And I've been doing it for 25 years. So I'm incorporating the psychic and the psychotherapist.
Wow.
Psyche is of the mind, and psychic is of the soul.
Wow.
And I didn't realize 25 years ago that this is going to be combining together, because I work with a lot of people who think that they're losing their mind, but I realize that they're really finding the divine, meaning that we're opening up spiritually.
Fabulous.
So when I know. So when I was studying at Columbia 25 years ago, all of a sudden I just started seeing ghosts in my apartment.
Really?
Yeah, they just started coming and knocking on my door, and I'd wake up and see them, and they all were friendly, you know, and I didn't know why it was happening. And my mom, who's a science teacher, but she also had a lot of psychic experiences and mediumship experiences, said, "Oh, you're just opening up, you know, how are your grades?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm being like haunted."
Wow.
So I think that I was 27 or 28, and that's my Saturn return, where I think the universe is trying to get me on my path. So I was studying at the most conservative school, Columbia, and I'm like, how am I going to incorporate it? And I went to a psychic. She said, you're supposed to do both.
Wow.
So I did that by asking the universe to give me signs and messages and synchronicities and ideas. Remember, I saw this Asian man floating into my room, and he, like, from here up, and he was on my wall, and I'm like, who is that? I couldn't figure out, you know, he had a little hat on, and I was talking to me about soul and healing, and when I woke up completely, he was gone. So a friend of mine came over, and she was a medium, and she's like, oh, you know, I see this Asian man in your room. I said, oh, he's real? You know, it got me scared. So I asked the universe. That's my big thing. I talk about and teach at meditation centers, the Den in LA and in Studio City, and I teach this a mental health facility about how to listen to the universe to find your path and purpose. So I walked down to Manhattan, and I was walking down the street, and this guy comes up to me, and he goes, here's a Buddha. So he gives me this alabaster Buddha, and it was really sweet. You know, like, who gets free things in Manhattan? And when I said, universe, show me why this man came to me, and I thought Buddha, you know, Asian, oh, maybe that's why. So I'm like, wow, here's a physical sign. So I was looking at the street, looking at this Buddha, and I was walking down the street, and all of a sudden I was in a parade with all these Korean Asian people, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And they laughed, and then I was in a parade for a Buddhist festival, and I'm like, well, that's two, you know? So then I went to a payphone, remember those, you know?
Yes.
And I put my coins in, and I knew there was like a workshop on the goddess, and my friend said, oh great, we're doing the goddess circle on Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of light, you know, represents the red in the Japanese flag. And I said, wow, there's a universal message. It was a gift, an invitation on your path to walk, and then an invitation to go into a class to learn. So I realized that was a message, and as I kept asking messages, I kept getting more and more of these things that the universe would respond to me symbolically, and synchronistically, and like regularly, and I became a dialogue with the universe. And then it helped me open up my path, so it was really kind of cool.
Well, and of course, it's the great thing is, of course, you're asked and you're looking and you're listening. I think most people they're just not listening. I mean, we know that's true, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And one of the things that we talk about and that we've had conversations with people about is you can only connect the dots afterwards, right? Oh yeah, the dots were connected, right?
Yes.
But it's a whole nother thing to know that the dots are going to connect, right?
Yes.
That's the difference,
right?
Okay?
Yes.
And when you move into that space of knowing, you know, so you get the message, I'm going to be combining these, and I'm getting kind of these synchronicities and these messages. I know it's going to happen. Were your gifts frightening to you when they were coming through? How did you navigate your way through that?
Yeah, I was very frightened, because to be a psychotherapist and hear and see things, you know, you could straight trip to the loony bin, and I didn't want to lose my license and then having like $50,000 of loans. So I was very nervous about it. So that's why I kept asking. I said, God, if you want me to combine these things. And I resisted for years, maybe 10 years, until I was working in Manhattan on Wall Street as a therapist. And a client came in and she was really, really depressed. And I became a Reiki healer, but I never used it because of the restrictions in mental health of being a psychotherapist and licensed. So then this patient was really depressed and she said, I'm going to kill myself. And it was on the holiday and all the psychiatrists were away, all the ERs were swamped. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I sent her a Reiki symbol, the chokure, in my mind's eye. And she was just talking about this plan. All of a sudden she stopped. And I said, what's wrong? She goes, I felt this wave of good, of light.
Wow.
She goes, what did you do? I said, I sent you a Reiki center. I didn't say anything. I didn't wave my hands. It was telepathic. And she felt it. And I was like, wow. And then she's like, I feel so much better. And then we contracted for safety and she was better. So I realized I had to incorporate both. So then I just kept asking the universe to help me, and then different things would show up. I ended up working at Payne Whitney, which is a clinic, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yes, at New York Presbyterian Hospital. And I was starting to do in the EAP there, and I would do spirituality and mental health. I would do meditation. That was a more scientific way, and I was teaching about it, and it was really good. And then I moved out to LA from New York, and more of these synchronicities kept opening up and opening up. My whole life's been that way, of helping people. And then I wrote a book about it called Honor Your Spirit, which is on Amazon, and it's about how to listen to your own spiritual messages, your spiritual path, which is your guiding force in your life.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And the bravery for you to do all of that's also comes across very powerfully with you. So, and that's really vital, I think. We all have to, because we have to muster our bravery for this stuff. We call it, the coming out of the spiritual closet, right?
Yes.
When you're ready to either actually tell somebody about it or more than that, act upon it, utilize it.
Absolutely.
Because like you were saying, we're all of these things, right? We're all of these things. We have the physical components about us, of course, the ethereal, spiritual aspect, which drives the physical component, and learning that they're all integrated into each other.
Yes.
Have you been criticized mainstream by other, peers and things like that, do you think?
Well, I've been very lucky that the universe was supporting me, because when I was working, yes, I had experiences in my book where I was working at a clinic, and this woman was very intuitive, but more into the dark energy, I think. Because I was trying to teach meditation and stuff. She said, I know what you're doing. And then she kind of was doing things that are wrong against patients. And I'm into ethics, so she ended up being pushed out. And at the time, I just left, because there was so much negativity. She was writing me up for foolishness. I knew it was time for me to do my real work. So I was going to my church, Agape. My minister's like, if you get kicked out of your job, yay. So then I asked the universe, what do I need to do? And I started doing healing for free through the church, Agape. And I bumped into this woman who worked at UCLA pediatric pain program. And she said, oh, we're looking for healers there. And I said, say what? She goes, yeah, we're looking for a healer. And she goes, I'm a psychologist. I said, well, I'm a psychotherapist. She goes, come to the interviews. I went to the interview, and I got in. I became a healer on the complementary alternative medicine team.
Wow.
So being at UCLA really legitimized what I was doing, because I was becoming an intuitive healer. And it was like a blessing. Again, as I listened to God and I said, what should I do? God said, work for me. And he says, the work is steady, the pay is good, the retirement benefits are out of this world. so I always work for God. Everything else is just a cover. So then, and
no need to send your resume. I already know everything about you, right?
Right, exactly, right. That's it, the tagline. So it was just really great. So then I worked at UCLA for 6 years. They ended up putting us on CNN because the women had connections, and Dr. Oz interviewed it, and that's been on my website for years. So it legitimizes. So when I said, God, I'll do it if I'm not, scorned or burned at the stake, which has happened to all of us in the past life, it was just wonderful. And another thing that I was teaching people, because I try to help people find their purpose, is that you have to turn things around that are sacred. The word sacred and scared are the same word, which is the two letters changed.
See things differently.
Yeah, just switch it around. Change what I was scared about. I made sacred. So I made spirituality sacred, and it became more of a spiritual calling and a mission, and then a life purpose and a passion. So it's been wonderful.
So how do people get a hold of you and talk to you and get integrated with your work?
Great. My website is intuitivesoulhealing.com, and on Instagram I'm Intuitive Soulutions, not solutions, Soulutions, one word, or my name Carolyn Coleridge, LCSW.
And you have Facebook and all of that
Facebook, I have a group, Honor Your Spirit, which is it has my book, and I post positive stories about people who are helping each other on the planet.
Okay, and so you offer services, through your website and things like that. Is that correct?
Yes. I also have a group, How to Work with the Universe, on Facebook. I do healing, soul retrievals, readings, and that's my most readings and counseling.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're very lovely.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. All of you, stay tuned as we continue this programming. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll be back shortly.